top, man, shit. Make sure you let these niggas know what time it is, man. You know what I'm saying? Get on this motherfucker. Let these niggas know what time it is, you understand? We royalty, nigga.
King Ty really one of the realest. I survived drive-bys from them killers. Like I got 9 lives, I got 9 wives. I said fine wine with them bitches. I'm spitting fire bombs in your city. I got like 8 or 9 niggas with me. And we all ready to die in a minute. One West, we the best in the business. I get offended, I fuck niggas spending. Talking they get it, but niggas is timid. Rappers is softer than linen. Catch me out parking lot pimping. What more could I give them? I've been the hottest forever. Why would I lie about cheddar? I could do better. I just put loyalty first. Royalty coming whenever. Pull off in the Jetta. Curvy, she on me, you sweater. My feel like wearing a sweater in summertime weather. Haters so salty, no pepper. You not that seasoned or clever. I'm with the rebel. Used to pump bass with the treble. Baking a cake in a kettle. I used to cook up the work. Now I just cook with the metal. Gotta keep foot to the pedal. Yeah, let me give it gas on the highway. Let the music blast on a calm day. Break the Glock down into 3 parts. Put the 3 together like my Najee. Sippin' Bombay with my enclave. Got my mind made. Ain't no time waste. Eating prime steak with a fine date at a fine place. Getting violated.
Shalom. Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahawashi Barakatham to the brothers. Yahweh Shamar Alatan Ba'Hashem Yahawashi to the sisters. I'm Priest and Officer Shagapan of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. And since 1969, we've been teaching so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who they are according to the Bible. And that is the true Jews of the Bible. And today, we're going to be talking about how we should never forget. I know it's 9/11, and we should never forget those towers that fell. We should never forget those people that died as the towers fell. We should never forget those people that died in those airplanes, and we should never forget all the people and all the lives and everything, all the devastation and destruction that this so-called great country America took and lost that day. But I'm here to talk about how we should never forget who we are. How we should never forget what happened to us as a people. How we should never forget those who committed all types of atrocities to our mothers, our grandmothers, our fathers, our grandfathers, our ancestors. I want to talk about how we should never forget who our enemy is. Let me get Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Now, if you haven't already known that the transatlantic slave trade took place on ships, that the people in the North and South and Central America went into slavery over in Europe and all over the Western Hemisphere, and how brothers and sisters were sold into slavery by the Africans and given to the white man and brought over here to the Americas on slave ships. It says that our people were going to go back into Egypt again. Egypt is synonymous with slavery, because our people, when we were in Egypt, we were slaves. When Moses led us out of Egypt, it was because we were slaves in Egypt. And it said that we will be sent into Egypt again on slave ships, cargo slave ships. Keep going.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
And we will never see our homeland again. We shall never be able to see all the people we loved, all the places we loved. We will never see any of those things ever again because we are going into slavery. Keep going.
And there ye shall be sold.
And then what?
Ye shall be sold.
In this slavery, we were going to be sold. Were we going to be sold to our friends? Were we going to be sold to our brothers and sisters? Were we going to be sold to our neighbors? Keep going.
Unto your enemies.
Unto your what?
Enemies.
We were sold unto our enemies. Africans took us and caught us and sold us onto our what?
Enemies.
When we were brought here on the slave ships, the people who built the slave ships were who?
Your enemies.
When we were brought over here all over North, South, Central America, we were sold to our who?
Enemies.
We were sold to our enemies. Now I know it's 2019. I know the public school educational system hasn't taken out all the historical facts out of our history textbooks, out of our social study textbooks. But anyone can pick up a book and see who our enemy is, who our oppressors were, who our slave masters were, who our overseers on these plantations were. They're the same people running the government. They're the same people running the law enforcement. They're the same people running the Marines, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. They're the same people running the prison and jail systems all across America. They are what?
Enemies.
Keep going.
For bondmen and bondwomen.
And we're going to be sold to our enemies for slaves. Keep going.
And no man shall buy you.
And none of our people will be able to have the money, the power, the might to save us, to come rescue us. For all you blackity blacks who think that we're Africans, what Africans came over here to save us from our enemies? None. That's because the Africans were our enemies. Who came over here and told our oppressors and slave masters in the Americas to stop us, to stop having us in slavery, to stop lynching us, to stop killing us, to stop sicking dogs on us, to stop hanging our pregnant women upside down and cutting the bellies and having the babies drop to the ground and stomping on them with their steel-toed boots? Who? No one. Let me get the next verse.
Deuteronomy chapter 28. Verse 48.
And never forget this.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
We will do what?
Serve thine enemies.
Never forget that we're going to serve our enemies. How did we serve our oppressors in slavery? How did we serve our slave masters in slavery? How do we serve our oppressors now? Keep going.
Which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger.
And what?
In hunger.
When we're in slavery, when we're marching down the Trail of Tears led by that diabolical General Andrew Jackson, it said we would do what?
In hunger.
We would serve them in hunger. Everything we need to do, we have to go to our oppressors. We have to go to our enemies when we're hungry, when we need food, when we need to put baby formula on the table, when we need to stock the fridge with milk and carrots and meat and cold cuts. Keep going.
And in thirst.
And in what?
In thirst.
And when we're thirsty, when we were on those plantations, dehydrated from picking all that cotton, for cutting all that tobacco, from cutting down that sugar cane over in Haiti, we had to go to our enemies, our oppressors, our slave masters when we were in thirst, when we were dying of thirst, when we needed just a cup of water. And instead they would hose us down. Instead, they would feed our babies to alligators, put them in a lake, in a swamp, trying to catch alligators, using our babies as alligator bait. Keep going.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness. When we need new clothes, when we're walking down the streets of Newburgh, when we're walking down the streets of Spring Valley, of Haverstraw, Poughkeepsie, of YO, Mount Vernon, we got to go to our enemies for every single thing. Whether it's clothes, whether it's light in our apartment, whether it's water in our apartment, anything you can think of, a roof over our head, assistance from the government, SSI, we got to go to our enemies. Let me get the next scripture.
Lamentation, chapter 4, verse 18.
And this is what our enemies do to us today.
They hunt our steps.
Our enemies hunt our steps. Never forget that. If you're going to remember one thing, never forget our enemies hunt our steps. They hunted our steps when we tried to get freedom in slavery. They hunted our steps when we were trying to flee and go into the wilderness and go into the forest. They hunted our steps. When they washed ashore on the islands of the Caribbean, they hunted our steps into the mountains. They hunted our steps into South America. They hunted our steps all over this earth. Keep going.
That we cannot go in our streets.
And even here in 2019, it's not safe to be out in these streets as a black man. It's not safe to be out in these streets as a Hispanic man. It's not safe to step out for your reservation as a Native American man because they hunt our steps. Our streets are not safe for us because our enemy is hunting us. Our enemy is the reason why our streets aren't safe. Keep going.
Our end is near.
Our what?
Our end is near.
Our end is near. We've been dying left and right. Police brutality, lynching still going on down in the South. A brother was found with his head chopped off not too long ago. His head one place, the rest of his body on the other place. Never forget who's your goddamn enemy. And believe me, we have enemies. We've always had enemies. Let me get the next scripture. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, verse 17.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verse 17. If adversity come upon thee,
if you find yourself in a hard spot, going through hard times, if you find yourself having to come up with money to bury your son, if you happen to find yourself going through hard times because you can't find money to put food on the table, that you're getting kicked out and getting evicted from your apartment, your home, keep going.
Thou shalt find him there first.
You shall find your enemy there first. Who do you think controls or the rents around here? Who do you think controls the housing market? Who do you think controls government assistance and welfare and the SNAP programs? Who do you think controls the Social Security checks that grandma gets? Who do you think controls the gas prices here in America? Who do you think controls how much a gallon of milk is? Our enemies. Any more on that?
And though he pretends to help thee,
and although he pretends to help you, although our enemy gives us SNAP, although our enemy gives us public education, although our enemy does this, that, and the third, all these good things that you can probably name off the top of your head, you getting donations from the Salvation Army, you getting a bonus for just enlisting in the army, all these things, although our enemy does this, keep going,
yet shall he undermine thee.
He shall undermine you. He's only doing these things so you can rely on him, so you can be a sucker. So that way you can always go back begging for more because you're never going to get enough. He's only going to tell you we need to fight the war on drugs. Meanwhile, he's putting drugs in your community. He's going to tell you, listen, we need to stop the gun violence and there's too many black men and Hispanic men shooting each other down and joining these gangs when he's the one dropping crates of guns and ammunition in your hood. He's the one that's creating these gangs. He's the one that's paying people off to start these gang wars and all the violence that's going on in these streets. He's only doing this to undermine you. Never forget that this is what our enemy does. And there's another thing you should never do. Never trust your enemies. Like it says in verse 10. Let me get verse 10, Baba Kasha.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy.
What does it say?
Never trust thine enemy.
God said what?
Never trust thine enemy.
The priests and prophets of the Bible said what?
Never trust thine enemy.
Every single man in the I.S.U.P.K. under commanding General YAHANNA is telling you to do what?
Never trust thine enemy.
Never trust your enemies. Not on a Sunday, not on a Monday, not all the way through Saturday, all over again. Never trust your enemies. Keep going.
For like as iron rusteth,
because just like this iron will one day rust on my battle axe, because it will rust eventually. Keep going.
So is his wickedness.
So will the wickedness of this oppressor. So will the wickedness of this slave master. So will the wickedness of that judge telling you you're going to have to do a 5 out of 10 for selling that crack. So would that police officer that pulled you over and said that you were driving with a broken taillight. Meanwhile, it wasn't broken. Meanwhile, he's planting crack cocaine in your car. Meanwhile, he's just going to beat your behind out on that street corner. Never trust your enemy. Because just as you can guarantee, know that that wall has lead paint in your building, your enemy will rust. Your enemy will show his wickedness. The oppressor that's enslaving our people, that has enslaved our people, that is beating our people down, that is beating our women down in these nail salons and these hair salons, that's breaking our little kids' legs in these daycare centers, that's shooting our little boys down when they're just playing in the park, that's tackling our little black and Hispanic women when they're just trying to go swimming, that's smacking our little boys and girls in the movie theaters and outside malls. Never trust your enemy. This is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started on 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General YAHANNA. And if you're going to learn and live your life with one thing, one fact, sear this into your brain. Never trust your enemy. Never forget who your enemy is. Never forget what he's done. Never forget what they have done. Never forget what they are continually doing to us, to you, to our people. That's my time. Shalom, Israel.
Nobody tell you crack. You know why? Because I never saw you before. But you a black man like me.
My whole life was trying to find something to follow. Had loyalty, every man tried to borrow. Felt pain and a lot of sorrow. Got betrayed, sold packs, I didn't even have my heart broke. Living confused, about to lose hope. Cops got me on the side of the road like a sideshow. Need an antidote before I croak. Now I'm setting fire to rhythm man blues for this guitar smoke. Rebel with no cause, trying to find direction. The world got me vexed. Picked up a bad liquor habit that's hereditary from oppression. Felt like my life was on fire, trying to find an exit. Now look, 10 G's plus a good wreck. Sometimes a follower is a soldier, trying to find a good ship. Plus when you in hell, how do you excel? Wisdom the breath of life, I believe in fairy tale. Listen well to what I tell. No calling can cause pain, something that a rebel knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord?